Hello students, welcome to Computer Networks Lab. Today we'll learn about experiment number 11, that is RSA algorithm. Let's look into the problem statement. The problem statement looks like this. Write a program for simple RSA algorithm to encrypt and decrypt the data. So we have to write a program for RSA algorithm to encrypt and decrypt the data. So before we understand what is an RSA algorithm, we need to know what is encrypt or encryption or what is decrypt or decryption. So we need to know some of the basic concepts of cryptography before we understand this RSA algorithm. Let's look into some of the prerequisites which are necessary to understand the RSA algorithm. The first one is the plain text. What is a plain text? A plain text is an original or intelligible message or a data. Any message which is in the readable format is called as a plain text. Ciphertext is an unreadable data. Okay. Message is converted into some form so that it becomes unreadable. So how is that done? We'll look into it later. So ciphertext is an unreadable format of this original plain text is called as ciphertext. Okay, it is an unreadable data. What is encryption or encrypt? Encryption is a process of converting a plain text to ciphertext. Okay, original message to an unreadable message is called as encryption. Encryption is generally done on the sender side. Okay, it's process of converting plain text to ciphertext is nothing but encryption. Now once the ciphertext is sent, see, it is done on the sender side. Once the receiver receives the ciphertext, he need to know what is the message that is being transferred. So why are we performing this encryption and decryption? In order to secure the communication. Whatever the message is exchanged between the two communicating parties, it has to be securely communicated. So how do we achieve that? We achieve it by using encryption and decryption. Okay. Now encryption is done on the sender side. On the receiver side, here the receiver performs decryption. That is, restoring the plain text from the given ciphertext is nothing but decryption. The receiver, once he received the ciphertext, he restored the plain text from the given ciphertext. How is that done? We'll see it. Okay. So restoring the plain text from the ciphertext is nothing but decryption. So all this comes under cryptography. Now we also need to understand what is cryptography and what are the types of cryptography. What do we mean by or what exactly is cryptography? Cryptography is derived from Greek where crypto means secret and graphy means writing. Okay, so it's an art and science of secret writing that is called as cryptography. Okay, it is a study of securing the communication technique which allows only the sender and the intended recipient of the message to view the content. Whatever the message that is being sent by a sender, only the intended receiver or the recipient will be able to view the content in the presence of a third party or an intruder. That is nothing but cryptography. Now let's look into this block diagram. In order to understand cryptography, there is a sender and receiver. I have already explained you what is a plain text and what is a ciphertext. Now sender wants to send the plain text to the receiver. If he directly sends the plain text over an insecure network in the presence of a third party, he may have access to this insecure network and he may use that plain text. Okay, or he is not authorized. In that case, how do we securely send this plain text to receiver so that only receiver will be able to see the original message? So before we send the message directly over an insecure channel, we convert it into a ciphertext and then send it across receiver. Okay. So a message or a plain text is converted into a ciphertext. So process of converting plain text to ciphertext is nothing but encryption. Now the ciphertext is sent over an insecure channel to the receiver. Once the receiver receives the ciphertext, he need to get back the original plain text. So the process of restoring the plain text from the given ciphertext is nothing but decryption. So encryption is performed on the sender side, decryption is performed on the receiver side. Now for performing the encryption, both sender and receiver uses a key which is called as an encryption key and decryption key while performing encryption and decryption. Sender, while performing encryption, he uses an encryption key to encrypt the plain text to ciphertext. Similarly, receiver also use a decryption key while restoring the plain text from the given ciphertext. Now, based on the key used in while performing encryption and decryption, we can classify the cryptography into three types. Based on the number of keys used, it is classified as symmetric key cryptography, asymmetric key cryptography, and hash functions. Hash function is not within the scope of what we are going to study here. Okay. Symmetric key cryptography is nothing but it is again a type of a cryptography where sender and the receiver use a common key to perform encryption and decryption. Or we can say a same key is used for encryption and decryption. That is nothing but symmetric key cryptography, or it is also called as secret key cryptography. Whereas in case of asymmetric key cryptography, there are pair of keys used, that are two different keys are used, one for performing encryption and one for performing decryption. So in case of asymmetric key cryptography, two different keys are used to perform encryption and decryption. Whereas hash function does not make use of any key, but hash function lets us securely store the data or transmit the data. I've already explained about the hash function in module 1. It takes an arbitrary size input and gives you a fixed size output, right? So this is again not in the scope of what we are going to learn here. Our major focus is on symmetric key cryptography and asymmetric key cryptography. Now, what is symmetric key cryptography? Symmetric key cryptography is also called as secret key cryptography, or here it is written as symmetric encryption. Again, it is a type of encryption scheme in which same key is used both to encrypt and decrypt the message. In case of symmetric key cryptography, we use the same key to perform encryption and decryption. That is same secret key. It is called as the secret key. Same secret key is used to perform encryption and decryption. Some of the best or the well-known example for symmetric key cryptography is DES and AES. DES stands for Data Encryption Standard. AES stands for Advanced Encryption Standard. Now, these two algorithms you will learn as part of curriculum in module 4. Okay. Now see, there is a plain text. Sender has a plain text. He need to send this plain text over an insecure channel. So first he or she converts the plain text to ciphertext using the same secret key. Now when we are telling the same secret key is used for both encryption and decryption, sender and receiver already know what is the key. Initially, before they perform encryption, decryption, sender and receiver already know what is the key that has to be used. Okay. Assuming that, now sender will use the plain text, perform encryption using the secret key to get the ciphertext. Now the ciphertext is transferred over an insecure channel. Now once the receiver receives the ciphertext, he'll decrypt it using the same secret key which is initially known to both sender and receiver and obtain the original plain text. In this case, only the intended receiver or the recipient is able to read the message which is being sent by the sender. Even though if the ciphertext is sent over an insecure channel in the presence of a third party or an intruder will not be able to read the message because it is converted into an unreadable format. That is how we are able to secure the communication between two parties. Okay. So this is about symmetric, called as symmetric key cryptography. Now let's look into asymmetric key cryptography. In case of asymmetric key cryptography, there are two pairs of keys used. One is public key and private key. Public key is used while performing encryption and private key is used while performing decryption. Now, what is asymmetric key cryptography? Asymmetric key cryptography is also called as public key cryptography. It is a process that uses a pair of related keys, that is a public key and the private key, to encrypt and decrypt the message. So while performing encryption and decryption, two different keys are used. Okay, two different keys are used. One is public key and one is the private key. Public key is used while performing encryption. Private key is used while performing decryption. This has to be private key, not secret key. Okay. Public key is known to everybody and the private key is kept secret. It is known only to the intended party or the intended receiver or the recipient. The well-known example of this asymmetric key cryptography is Diffie-Hellman key exchange and RSA, which is our point of interest. So we have to study about RSA. So RSA is an asymmetric key cryptography. So in RSA, we use two different keys, that is a public key and private key to perform encryption and decryption in order to secure the communication between sender and the receiver. Okay. So here sender has a plain text. Before he send the ciphertext, he first need to perform encryption. Sender take the plain text, use the public key of the receiver here. Now sender use a public key. It is a public key of whom? It is a public key of receiver. As I already told, public key is known to everyone. So sender already knows the receiver's public key, whereas the private key is known only to the receiver. So sender, before sending a ciphertext, needs to know what is the public key of the recipient or the receiver, use that public key to perform encryption and get back the ciphertext. Plain text is encrypted using the public key to get the ciphertext. Now the ciphertext is transferred to the receiver. Now, how does receiver obtain the plain text back? He need to perform decryption. While performing decryption, receiver uses the private key, which is known only to the receiver. Receiver gets the ciphertext, perform decryption using the private key, which is known only to the receiver, and get back the original plain text. Let us understand this with one more block diagram. As you can see, there are two parties, Alice and Bob. Okay. Now Bob has a pair of public key of multiple receivers here. Now Bob might have already communicated with all this party. Now if Bob wants to communicate with Alice, Bob needs to know the public key of Alice. And if you can notice, in Bob's public key ring, Bob already have public key of Joy, Mike, Alice and Ted. Now, if Bob wants to communicate with Alice, Bob needs to use the respective public key, that is receiver here is Alice public key to perform encryption. Let us not bother about what is the encryption algorithm used by sender and the receiver. Let's only focus on the public and the private key. Okay. Now Bob has a plain text. He performed encryption using Alice public key to get the ciphertext. Ciphertext is transmitted to Alice. Now Alice, after receiving the ciphertext, performed decryption using her private key. She used her private key, which is known only to Alice. Okay. Alice received the ciphertext, performed decryption using Alice's private key, which is known only to her, to get back the plain text. Now let us assume if Alice wants to communicate with Bob, in that case, Alice should know what is the public key of Bob. So if Alice wants to send any message to Bob, then in that case, Alice will use Bob's public key to encrypt the message and send the ciphertext to Bob. and Bob will decrypt that message using the Bob's private key, which is known only to Bob. Okay, so Bob uses Bob's private key to perform decryption and get back the plain text. So this is how asymmetric key cryptography works. Why the name asymmetric key cryptography? There are two different keys used: public key, private key. Public key is known to everybody, private key is kept secret. Public key is used while performing encryption, private key is used while performing decryption. Now, as I said, RSA is based on asymmetric key cryptography. So in RSA, we use two different keys. So now let us understand this RSA algorithm. What does RSA stands for? RSA is named after three scientists, as you can see here: Rivest, Shamir and Edelman. Ron Rivest, A.D. Shamir and Leonard Edelman. So these are the three people. RSA is named after these three scientists. Okay, RSA stands for Rivest, Shamir and Edelman. Now, what is an RSA? It's an asymmetric key cryptographic algorithm which is widely used for securing the data transmission. As I said, in case of asymmetric key cryptography, we use two different keys, that is a public key and private key. Public key is given to everyone, which is used for encryption, and private key is kept private, which is used while performing decryption. Now, what are the steps involved in RSA algorithm? There are three major steps which are involved in RSA algorithm. First one is the key generation. That is, we have to generate both public key and private key first. Then we should know what is the plain text and then perform encryption on that plain text using the public key and perform decryption for the given ciphertext using the private key. So there are three major steps involved in RSA, that is key generation, encryption and decryption. Let us look into how do we perform key generation. So in RSA algorithm, these are the steps that has to be followed while performing or while generating the key. What is the first step? Generate two large prime numbers P and Q. You have to generate two large prime numbers P and Q and perform modulus of these two, that is compute n, which is P multiplied by Q, which gives us n. Okay, compute P into Q, which is stored in n. Now once you know what is n, compute z such that it has to be computed as P minus 1 multiplied by Q minus 1 will give us z. How do we compute z? It is P minus 1 into Q minus 1. Now choose a small prime number e such that e and z are relatively prime to each other, which means relatively prime means the GCD of e and z, GCD of e and z is equal to 1, where e is greater than 1 and less than z. That means you have to choose a small prime number e in such a way that from the range between 1 and z. So from 1 and z you will compute z. Between that range you have to choose one prime number such that this condition is satisfied. That is GCD of e and z should be equal to 1. Now once you compute e and you have already computed n, that becomes your public key. So public key is e and n. It is a pair of two keys, that is e and n. It is pair of e and n. Now how do we compute private key? Compute D in such a way that D is equal to E inverse mod Z. This can also be written as E into D mod Z is equal to 1. So you will compute D. You already know E, you already know Z. You perform E into D mod Z. Once you perform this, you should get 1 as the remainder. So that D you need to choose. How do you choose? Let's understand this with an example. Okay. So how do you compute E? E, you have to choose a small prime number in the range between 1 and z in such a way that E and z are relatively prime. That means GCD of E and z is equal to 1. And how do you compute D? D is equal to E inverse mod z, or this can also be written as E into D mod z is equal to 1. So N and E forms public key and D and N forms private key. So N is common. E and N forms public key, D and N forms private key. Now we have generated both public key and private key. Now we should know what is the plain text that has to be transmitted. Okay. Let us assume a given plain text be represented as M. If M is the plain text that has to be transmitted, how do we encrypt or we perform encryption? Use the public key to perform encryption. What is the public key? Public key is E and N. What is the message? Message is M. What do you need to do? You need to perform encryption and get the ciphertext. So how do we get the ciphertext? Ciphertext is represented as C. M is the message that has to be transmitted, that is a plain text. We use two public key. Public key is E and N. E and N is the public key. M raised to E mod N will give us the ciphertext. How did we obtain this? M is the plain text that has to be transmitted. E and N are the public key. So we are using the public key to convert this plain text to ciphertext. We are performing encryption. While performing encryption, we are using the public key E and N to get the ciphertext. Now this ciphertext is calculated by the sender. It is transferred over an internet or insecure channel to the receiver. Now receiver will receive the ciphertext. Receiver will have the decryption key, which is different. So given a ciphertext C, receiver uses the private key. What is the private key we have computed in the previous step? Private key is D and N. So use the ciphertext and use the private key to restore the original plain text. So C is the ciphertext, D and N are the private key to perform decryption and obtain the plain text M. That is M is equal to C raised to D mod N will give us the plain text. So C is the ciphertext, D and N are the private key. So once we perform C raised to D mod N, will obtain the plain text. So this is how encryption and decryption is done in RSA. So we have, what is the first step in RSA? There are three major steps: key generation, encryption and decryption. In key generation, we generate two keys, public key, private key, as you can see here. Then once you know what is the message that has to be transmitted, you convert the message into a ciphertext by using the public key, and you obtain, once obtaining the ciphertext, use the private key to decrypt and restore the original plain text. Now for example, if here we have taken the plain text as M, if you have a message called hide that has to be encrypted, first you map those alphabets into the range. Since there are 26 alphabets, you start assigning a value to the alphabets from 0 to 25 or from 1 to 26, since there are 26 alphabet. Okay, so HID convert, know the corresponding integer value, that is if A is if A, for A I am initializing to 1, if A is represented as 1, B as 2, C as 3, like this it goes till Z as 26. So you should know the correspond, you have to convert that character into integer, that is HIDE is the message that has to be transmitted. You first know the integer equivalent of H, I and D and E. Use each and every integer, like for H it corresponds to 7 or 8, assume. If I'm starting from 0, H corresponds to 7. So 7 is the message, and you will know public key and private key, and for that 7, if you get the ciphertext, you will get a value, and that value if you map it to a character again, so that is going to be your ciphertext. So like this you will perform encryption and decryption for each and every character if it has to be done manually. Okay, in programmatically, if you have to do this, we'll convert that character into its ASCII equivalent. Okay, so this is about the RSA algorithm. Now let's do an example on RSA. Let us assume P is equal to 11 and Q is equal to 3. We have taken two large numbers as P is 11 and Q is 3. How do we calculate n? N is equal to P into Q, which is 11 into 3 is 33. And how do we compute Z? First step is choose two large prime number PQ. Second step is compute N. Third step is compute Z, which is P minus 1 into Q minus 1. P is 11 minus 1. Q is 3 minus 1. We get Z as 20. Now we have to choose E such that you have to choose a small prime number E in such a way that E should be greater than 1 and less than 20. So within the range from 1 to 20, you can choose any prime number in such a way that GCD of that E, what you have chosen, GCD of E and Z should be equal to 1. Now let's see. 2 is the prime number. I am choosing E as 2. Now it is in the range between 1 to 20. It's greater than 1, less than 20. Yes. Now just check if the GCD of 2 and Z. What is Z? Z is 20. GCD of 2 and 20, is it 1? No, it's not equal to 1. Choose other number. See, within this range you can choose any number. Like if there are 2 or more number whose GCD is equal to 1, you can choose any one. Okay. Now if I choose E as 3, 3 is also prime number. Check if the GCD of E and Z, that is 3 and 20, if it is equal to 1. Okay. Now 3 is greater than 1 and less than 20. And GCD of 3 and 20, if you compute, it will be equal to 1. There is a small correction that I have to do. Just a minute. So now here GCD of 3 and 20 is equal to 1. So now can we choose E as 3? Yes, it is relatively prime to Z. E and Z are relatively prime, which means GCD of E and Z is equal to 1. So what is E? E is equal to 3 now. Now what is your public key? Public key is E and N. That is E is 3, N is 33. So public key is 3, 33. Now compute private key. What is the private key? D. How do you compute private key? D is equal to, if you look here, D is equal to E inverse mod Z, or it can also be written as E into D mod Z is equal to 1. Now D into E mod Z is equal to 1. Now what is E? E is 3. I need to know what is D and what is Z? Z is 20. So you multiply 3 with something in such a way that when this number divided by 20, if you get 1 as the remainder, then that becomes your D. Multiply 3 with such a prime number so that when you get this result, and if this result mod 20 if you perform, if you get 1 as the remainder, then that becomes your D. Now see, 3, no, you keep on choosing numbers from 1 till 20. Now 3 into 1 is 3, 3 more 20 is not 1, 3 more 20 will be 3, 3 2s are 6, 6 more 20 will be 6, as 6 only will be the remainder. 3 3s are 9, 9 will be the remainder. Any number less than 20, that itself will be the remainder. Now you should choose a number which is greater than 20. 3 5s are 15, 3 6s are 18, 3 7s are 21. So when you do 21 mod 20, 21 mod 20, will it result in 1? Yes. 21 mod 20, the remainder will be 1. So in that case, we can choose D as 7. So what is E? E is 3, D is 7. So what's the public key? Public key is 3, 33. Private key is 7, that is D is 7, 33. Now we have generated public and private key. Now let's know what is the message that has to be transmitted. Let's assume the message that has to be transmitted, that is a plain text, be 7. Okay. Now use the public key. What is your public key? 3, 33. And what is your message? 7. How do you perform encryption? Or how do you calculate the ciphertext? C is equal to M power E mod N. N is 33. Correct. So what is M? M is 7. M power E is 3. Mod N is 33. Now you perform this, you get 343 mod 33. The remainder is going to be 13. Now this is your ciphertext. Okay, this is your ciphertext. See, we are computing only for one number. Like if you have a complete message, you should know ASCII equivalent of that while coding. While doing manual calculation, Assign all the characters with integer equivalent, as I said, starting from 1 to 26. Okay. Now this is the ciphertext. Now how do we get the plain text? We need to perform decryption. So ciphertext is 13, and we should also know what is the private key. Private key is D comma N, that is 7 comma 33. So how do we obtain plain text M? Plain text M is equal to C power D mod N. What is C? C is 13, D is 7, mod N is 33. So once you perform this, once you calculate this, you will get 7 mod 33. And when this number is less than 33, 7 is the remainder. So is this the plain text what you have initially chosen? Yes. So this is how we perform encryption and decryption using RSA algorithm. Okay. So this is one sample example. Now let us understand this with our Java program. Let us look into the code. Now let us look into the Java code for this RSA algorithm. In this code, we have made use of package import java.math.biginteger. Here we are making use of a special class called biginteger, which is defined in this package. Now this big integer mainly involves calculation of very big integers which are outside the limit of all the available primitive data types. So we make use of this big integer. Now it is not a basic data type. We are not making use of any basic data type in the Java code. We are making use of a special class called big integer, which is defined in this package. So what is the first step in RSA? We have to generate two large prime numbers. So we are randomly generating two large prime numbers using a built-in method defined in the class big integer called probable prime. Now probable prime is a built-in method defined in this class which is randomly generated. Now we are first generating a large prime number p using this built-in method which is randomly generated. If you can see, we have already created object for this and it is of 32-bit length. Okay. Similarly, you can create another prime number using this probable prime method defined in the class big integer. Randomly create these two prime numbers are randomly created. Now this is optional here. This indicates generate the second random number after 10 milliseconds. It is optional, you can ignore this. Okay. Now the second random number q of 32-bit length is generated after 10 milliseconds. First step is choose two large prime numbers, then multiply n is equal to p into q. Now since p and q are big integers, we simply cannot perform normal multiplication. So we need to make use of a built-in method which is defined in this class. So we have various built-in methods like multiply, add, subtract, divide and all that. Okay. So we make use of this built-in method multiply to multiply these two large number p and q. This is the syntax. The first number multiply by the second big integer. First big integer multiply built-in method and the second variable which is a big integer. So you get n which is also a big integer. The second step is n is equal to p into q. What is the third step? Z is equal to p minus 1 into q minus 1. Okay. Now here we are subtracting this big integer p by 1 and we are subtracting big integer q by 1. So we get p minus 1 and q minus 1. Once you get p minus 1 and q minus 1, then you do normal multiplication p minus 1. This is p underscore 1, okay, where we have subtracted p by 1 and subtracted q by 1 and multiply p minus 1 multiply by q minus 1 and you get z. Now this could also be written by using a constant. We have some of the constant. In order to ease the initialization, we can also initialize 1. 1 could also be written. This is again a constant. Big integer dot 1 can also be written here. If you do not want to make use of this, you can write this here. Okay. Simply p underscore 1 is equal to p into subtract is again a built-in method defined in this class, and subtract p by 1. Now this is a constant. Now once you get z, first step is choose two large prime number, compute n is equal to p into q, compute z is equal to p minus 1 into q minus 1. The next step is choose e. How do you choose e? You choose e in such a way that e and z are relatively prime, which means GCD of e and z is 1. Now, here E is considered as public key. We have initialized E to be, we have taken it as a public key which is initialized with 2. As we know, E is also a prime number. So we start choosing E in the range from 1 greater than 1 less than Z, right? Whatever is the value of Z. Till that range you can choose any value of E where the GCD of E and Z should be equal to 1. So we start from 2. Now if you can notice here, public key is of type int. Okay. Now we enter into a while loop. Now this GCD is again a built-in method, okay, which computes the GCD of two big integers. What is the GCD? We have to find the GCD of E and Z. E here is public key. So we have to find GCD of public key and Z. Z is anyways big integer, but public key is not big integer. So we have to convert this public key to big integer. So that is what is done here. This is converting public key to big integer. And then compute the GCD and it is stored in this variable. Now check if this GCD equals 1. This is again a built-in method and this is a constant. We are checking if GCD equals 1. If it is equal to 1, break. Otherwise, assume you are computing GCD of 2, 20. GCD of 2, 20 will not be equal to 1, right? So what do you do in that case? Increment the value of public key. Now public key becomes 3. Now again find the GCD of 3, 20. Is the GCD of 3, 20 equal to 1? Yes. If true, break. Now what is the value of the public key that you got? It's 3. Or you can say your E value is 3. Okay. Now we are just storing this public key in one more. We are creating an object for this class and storing it in big integer. Why this has to be done is, now your public key is, even though you have converted into big integer, now here the public key is of type int. Again converting it into big integer because we will make use of E while computing D. So whenever we are computing D, again we use a built-in function called mod inverse. So there while passing the values or the variable to this mod inverse, again it works on two big integers. So there again you have to convert your public key which is of type int to big integers. So we are doing it. Okay. Now what is the next step? We got to know what is E. Now we have to compute D. How do you compute D? D into E is equal to D into E mod Z is equal to 1. Or it is same as D is equal to E inverse mod Z. Correct? So this mod inverse, E inverse mod inverse, this is equivalent to this line. Now this is D is represented as private key. Okay. We are again mod inverse is a built-in method defined in this class. we have to find E inverse mod Z. What is E? We have taken E as public key. So public key mod inverse Z. So this is same as E inverse mod Z. So you get to know what is your D. Okay. Now once you calculate what is D, what will be your public key? Public key will be equal to E comma N, and private key will be equal to D comma N. Display public key and private key. So if you can look into the output, public key is E comma N. N is this. Just check if both N are same. Yes. This is E and this is D. So we have displayed the public key. Key generation is done. What are the three steps in RSA algorithm? Key generation, encryption and decryption. Now for performing encryption, we should know what is the plain text. User will enter the plain text. Okay. Again, we store the plain text in this variable message. Now this get method, this method gets the string and it returns an array. It takes string as an input and returns a sequence of byte. Okay. Now this get byte method is again defined in the class big integer. This method encodes a given string which is stored in message into a sequence of bytes and return an array of bytes. So this is a variable of type array of byte. Since we have to take each and every character and then do encryption, correct? That is the reason we are doing this. Now we have to take each and every character, know what is the ASCII value of it, and then perform encryption and decryption. So for iterating through an array for all the sequence of character, we are making use of a for loop till the length of the array. Now in byte of I, we will have a character. Now let us assume the text, that is a plain text entered, is computer network. What is the first character? C. C is stored in variable int. So an ASCII value of it will be stored. Now this ASCII value is of type integer. Now whenever if I have to make use of, what is the encryption step? C is equal to m power e mod n. This is how we perform encryption, right? Now what is m? M, do you know m? M is each and every character. So can I write it as Ci is equal to mi? Now what is there in mi? Mi is of not type big integer, it is of type int. Convert this mi into big integer first. Okay, that is stored in a variable val, value. Now this is value. Okay, now I need to compute ciphertext. What is the ciphertext value? It is equal to value mod. How do you perform 2 power 2? You use a power function, or you perform e power n is taken as power of e comma n. Similarly, we use a mod power, which is a built-in function for e and n. This is a public key. What is e? E is big public key, that is a big integer here, and n is anyways big integer. So mod power of public key, which is e comma n, is done on value which is mi. So I get corresponding ciphertext value, okay, for the character C. Now once you get the ciphertext value, we are simply printing that ciphertext value. If you can see, ciphertext value is printed. Okay. Now we have to get back the plain text. Just to show the plain text, we are able to obtain the plain text. How do we obtain the plain text? M is equal to C power D mod n. Now do you know C? Now this is mi comma Ci. What is Ci? Ci is there in ciphertext value. So plain text value is equal to ciphertext value mod. Private key is d comma n. What is d? D is represented as private key n. So mod power this. So you get the plain text. Now plain text is of type big integer. Now you got the corresponding big integer value. How do you convert it into corresponding or that particular character. How do you know that you are able to obtain the character C, plain text? So this is a big integer now. If you can notice in the output, it is displayed as C. So I am encrypting C. This is the ciphertext and this is the plain text on the receiver side. So first I need to convert the plain text value into an integer value, from big integer to integer. So int value will convert that into a numeric value, which is stored in this variable I underscore plain value. Then convert it into a string which is of length 1. That is that particular specified character. So character to string you are doing on this plain value, whatever you have got, no, that is a ciphertext value, which is a big integer you converted into int. Now you're just converting into character to string to display that particular character. So if you can see character, so what is that, you will get C. Now once this is done, control goes to again a for loop. Then we traverse to the second value a of z, a of 1. What is there in a of 1? O. So similarly this for loop runs till the end of this string. So we will similarly display ciphertext, plain text, ciphertext, plain text. This is how it is displayed. This is a ciphertext and the corresponding plain text is obtained. So this is how encryption and decryption is done in RSA algorithm to secure data transmission. So this was about RSA algorithm. Thank you, students.